Hi everyone, Sean Kennedy here from Java SE Certification Training YouTube channel. And what I want to look at in this video is the difference between an instance variable and a static variable. So let's declare a class called person here, and I have an instance variable for the name of the person, which is a string, an age, which is an int, and I've got a count here, which is an instance variable as well. And I'm going to show you how that does not work for what I'm planning to do with count. Here is the constructor. Constructors have the same name as the class, except they have no return type, and they have typically the same access as the class. So this is package private, nothing there at all. So this is package private as well. Here's the constructor. It's taking in a string name and it's taking in an int age, and then I'm initializing the instance variable, this.name, with the argument that's passed in, the parameter that's passed in there. This.age, which is referring to the age instance variable, because it's the this dot in front of it, and then the age here is referring to the age there, which is the parameter coming in. And then I'm going to increment the count. So this is supposed to keep a count of the number of person objects that are created. So if I create 3, it should be 3. Then I've got some accessor and mutator methods, one for each of these instance variables there. So there's the get name. It's public to give you access to your private data. Your data should always be private. Then there's your set name, which takes in a name and initializes the instance variable to whatever has been passed in. And there's a return type of void on that set name. There's the get age, which returns an age. Age is an int, that's why the return type is an int, and it's public. So private data, public methods to get the data and to set the data. There's the set age, which takes in an int age, and it has to set the instance variable to be equal to the parameter that's been passed in, the argument that's passed in. And I need a get count as well. Not going to set count, that's going to be done by the constructor, but I want to be able to retrieve the current value of count, and that's an int, so therefore the return type is an int, and I need public access to it because it's private. So then I've got a toString. I'm overriding the one that's coming down from, that's inherited from object. So that's the correct signature. You have to make it exactly like that, public string toString. And then I'm returning person, and then I'm appending on name equals, and then I append on the actual name, then I append on a comma, then I append on the string age equals, and then I append on the variable age, the instance variable age. So here's my class person test, and you can see here's my main, and I'm creating 3 person objects, John, Mary, and Tom. John, that's his name, John, he's 22, Mary is 24, and Tom's 26. So they go in here into the constructor. There's the name been passed in, and there's the age. So the first one, John, is going to be the name, 22 will be the age. Mary will be the name, 24 will be the age, and so on. And then I'm going to use one of the references. I could use any of them, because get count is an instance method. It is a non-static method accessing an instance variable. So I can use John, Mary, or Tom because they are each instances of the class person. They are object instances. They are references to the objects. And if I run it, you'll see I'm getting back 1 when I should be getting back 3. And it doesn't matter which one I use. I keep getting back 1. And that is because it's an instance variable. Now an instance variable, if it's an int, is going to be initialized for you, and it will be initialized, because it's an int, to 0. And when we come along here, we increment it to 1. Then we create another object instance. Its count is set to 0 by default, and then we increment that to 1. Then we have another count, which is initialized to 0, the third one, Tom, and then we increment that to 1 as well. So no matter what reference I use, I'm going to end up with 1 as my count. So let's fix that. We want it to be 3. So this is where if I make that variable static, now what that means is that each of the objects will get a name and an age, but they will share the count across all three instances. This static variable will be stored in a separate area of memory now. It won't be stored inside in the object. It'll be in the class area. So now when I create the first person, it'll go from 0, which is what its default value is, to 1. When I create the second person, it'll go from 1 to 2. When I create the third person, it'll go from 2 to 3. And now what I'll do is I'll make the getCount method static as well. Okay, because static method accessing a static. It's not that you don't, it's going to let me do it. An instance method can access the static, but it's cleaner. This is a static method to return the static variable count. What it does mean is that I should use the class. You can, as you can see, it's not giving me a compiler error, but that's quite confusing and very poor practice. But just in case it would ever crop up in an Oracle assessment, you could use an object reference to access a static method. But we won't. We will use the normal practice of using the class name to access the static method. Anyone reading your code now knows, oh, that's a static method. So let's run it. And now you can see it's fixed. It's now coming back with the correct value. And that's a very important example of how statics differ from instance variables. So if you like that video, please click on like. If you like further material, please subscribe. And any comments, please leave them below. Thanks very much.